in you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. What a wonderful world.
Hello and welcome to the 5th installment of the Untitled Mike Ashmore podcast. I know what some of you may be thinking, wow, what an awful idea to be filming the intro to this while you're working out. But you know what's not an awful idea? Talking to Vince Molesky. How long would it take you to guess, if you don't already know, that he was the Game 1 starter in the playoffs for Somerset in 2018? Was a bit of an afterthought coming into the roster, and boy, was he anything but by the time his time in Somerset was over. We're going to talk to him about that and a lot more. But before I run out of breath, here it is, our interview with Vince Molesky. All right, guys, I've got Vince Molesky here on the Untitled Mike Ashmore podcast, show number 5. Vince, welcome to the pod. How you doing, my friend?
Great. It's an honor. It's an honor to be a part of it, and I'm ready to go and see what we can do.
An honor. That's very, very flattering. It's an honor to have you on, sir. Working with the Navy now. What has that been like?
Oh man, it's been quite a change from baseball. From being on the diamond in the clubhouse. I remember my first day actually going into the office for at the location I'm here in Mechanicsburg working for the Navy. A person asked me what did you do prior to this job, and I think he was like expecting me to have some sort of contracting experience or business experience, and I said I was a professional baseball player. And I'll probably remember this till the day I die. He says, well, that's going to have absolutely no help for you in this field. And I kind of just shrugged it off, and I kind of said, well, I appreciate the encouragement. And, he's sort of right, he's sort of wrong. But I think, the game kind of prepared me in, different ways to help me move forward in this line of work. So, but, I'm excited for it and grateful for the opportunity now.
So how does something like this kind of come together? I guess you had made the decision to not play anymore, but why the Navy? I mean, there's so many options for someone like yourself, and we'll get into that. You have your master's. There's just so many roads and options for someone who, has the college resume that you have. So I guess why turn to the Navy?
I mean, it kind of fell in my lap. At the same time, I went on a couple of interviews after this past season, and marketing and in the business world and whatnot. And I was kind of looking to join another team, honestly. Being a part of, playing baseball and being part of teams, for 5 years. And honestly, since I was a kid, just being a part of a team in basketball, whatever sport it might be, I was just looking to join another team. And soon after the season ended, my last season, I had an alumni weekend back at Mount St. Mary's University, and I met up with a few former teammates, and one of them said, you should come work for the Department of Defense and join the Navy and be a contracting officer. And that's what he was doing. He actually got another one of our teammates to do it as well at the same base that he's at down in DC. And talked to them both. They both loved it. They, loved what they do. It's fun, interesting work every day. It's different. And he's like, it's not that much different, honestly, than baseball with, dealing with contracts and whatnot. I kind of felt like that was hard to believe, but he's like, if you're interested, give me a shout out and I'll see what I can do and you see where you want to be located at and whatnot. There's a ton of avenues to go for, if you want to work for the government and whatnot. So I kind of did some research, took a couple of months and really thought about it and looked at some other avenues, and kind of just came back to it. I wanted to join a new team and be part of something, bigger than myself, and at the same time have, something to, look forward to and work my way up towards again. And, I got an interview with the government and all went well. And, here I am now a month into working for the Department of Defense.
I gotcha. I guess at the end of last year, did you know that was going to be it? I know you were dealing with a lot of shoulder stuff over the past couple of years, but at that time, do you know that, what, this is going to be my last year, this is going to be my last game?
Coming into last season, I returned from Mexico. My arm was kind of starting to, in shambles, so I did some rehab and stuff like that. And I was like, I remember telling my family, it's like, I don't want to end the season like I did the previous year,
Yeah.
That playoff game in Long Island, I wasn't at my best. I was dealing with some shoulder issues there. But, I've been working for that moment my whole life. So I wanted to do everything in my power to try to, grind it out and do the best I can for the team. So I was like, I want to come back. I want to work. I want to, get healthy again and try to get back to that moment and, have a different outcome. And I did some rehab when I came home from Mexico, and that was, it was a grind itself. And I got all the way through the rehab, started the throwing program again, and I started having the same issues that I had at the end of the last season. So I, went through the process of getting an MRI and of the labrum and all that kind of stuff, and found out that I had, a few cysts in my shoulder. And I just had to, at that point, I was like, I'm not ready to give it up. I want to have an opportunity to continue to play and, try to get back to that moment and have a different outcome. So I tried to find a new way to throw without any pain, and I did. But, it was just trying to, after pitching in a certain way for so long, trying to redevelop yourself in a matter of a few months was, it was hard. It was probably one of the toughest, it was a lot different than trying to recome Tommy John surgery that I had in college and stuff like that. And especially going up and facing the competition that you're going to face in the Atlantic League. It was just, I don't know, I appreciate the Somerset Patriots for giving me the opportunity to, to work through it and this past year. But I did know going into the season that it was going to probably be my last year, no matter the outcome. I'm getting close to my 30s now. And I was like, it's time to use my, the degree I got from Mount St. Mary's and the education and all that kind of stuff. So, yep.
Yeah. You're pitching with a bit of a jacked up shoulder at that time, and it's no secret you've never been a guy who's thrown super hard. Was that somewhat of a mental hurdle last year, knowing that you're pitching with maybe a shoulder that isn't 100% and maybe sapping even a little bit more of your velocity and your strength?
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely held me back to a certain extent, but like you said, I was never an overpowering guy, so I knew I had, the secondary stuff to play with, and the curveball, the changeup, the slider. But I think that the kind of the turning point that really kind of held me back was that going into the season, trying to throw, drop my arm angle down a little bit. I've always been over top type of guy, and I kind of lost my slider. And the previous 2 years, that was my strikeout pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Before the slider was the curveball, and I kind of went back to the curveball. Ended up getting better, honestly, as I dropped my arm angle down a little bit, and that became my strikeout pitch again. But I lost, that slider, and I think that was a huge pitch in my arsenal for me to have success, especially not throwing, 95, 93. I was a guy who sat anywhere from 86 to 90, 91, being, the best day. So, it definitely did eventually if it was, I'll be lying to you if it wasn't in the back of my mind when I was throwing this past year. But at the end of the day, I was going to do anything I could to help the team, whether it's, starting, long relief, whatever it would be.
Yeah, I guess we're working our way from the back to the beginning, but you never really, it seems like in your 2 years in Somerset, you never really had too much of a set role. Maybe kind of towards the second half of 18 you did, but last year maybe not so much. Beginning 18 certainly not so much. How much of a challenge was that as well?
Oh man, the whole thing you look for, to have success, I feel like you have to have some sort of routine. And as I got into pro ball and even a little bit through college, I learned that have a routine, get a routine, stick to the routine as much as possible. And coming to Somerset, I knew that, especially that first year, 2018, that I was going to be fighting for, a starting role, possibly, hopefully just get into the bullpen in some sort of way and be able to help out. And, it's pitching one day, throwing 3 innings, and then having 10 days off is, it's not easy. It's, you start having, thoughts in your head of like, oh, am I doing something wrong? Do they not want me up? Do they not have faith in me? All that kind of stuff kind of gets, thrown into your back of your mind. And at the end of the day, you can't, to have success, you can't have those type of things in the back of your mind, no matter what you're doing. You got to go out there with confidence that, you can succeed in any role they throw you in. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to you and the batter and the catcher. I mean, you just got to focus in on what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, the routine is a goal. I mean, you want that routine. You want to feel comfortable going in every day, knowing what your role is, all that kind of stuff. And not having a routine, not knowing when I was pitching, not knowing what was going on, the shoulder issues, that all kind of played a role in, this past season. And that, I mean, at the end of the day, that kind of led to, it's time for me to step away and use this education.
Yeah. That second half of 2018, it seemed like you really caught fire, and maybe some of that was confidence with kind of having that set role of starting. But how meaningful of a stretch of games was that for you to, the highest level, you more or less got to was the Atlantic League, to show what you could really do over a long stretch like that? How much did that mean to you?
I mean, that made walking away from the game, that much easier. I mean, I remember there was a stretch that we were down in Sugarland, and I think it was a 7-game series. I threw the first game and the last game or something like that, and I think I was 16 scoreless innings in 2 starts. At that moment, I was like, wow. It was like, I wasn't shocked at what I could do because I knew I could do it. But I mean, that was one of the best teams in the league. They're in the championship or no? Yeah, I think they made it to the championship that year.
Yeah,
I don't remember against the Ducks, but I mean, doing that on their turf, that was something special, and that what happened was special to me, and it definitely made. I mean, 2018 once I was starting, and I felt like I was just in a groove, like you said, and I was like, I was ready to do it for another 3 years once I knew what I was doing, and man, that was a fun year, and that year definitely ultimately, which led me to going to Mexico and all that kind of stuff. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity and all that kind of stuff, because that ultimately led to being able to walk away that much easier.
Yeah. Get the ball for game 1 of the playoffs, which I don't think anybody would have expected, for coming into the season with the way that staff was and the way kind of you didn't really have much of a role coming into the season. And a lot of us knew at the time that you had some shoulder stuff going on as well. When you're heading into that start, do you have a feeling that things might kind of go the way they did? I know you obviously want to get out there and compete and try to pitch your ass off the best you can, but is there a sense that, my shoulder might not be able to take this anymore?
I mean, before the game, like I didn't, you have so many, I didn't really have that thought at all. I was like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to shove. I'm going to go out there and do what I've been doing.
Yeah.
I took a little bit of time off, and they eased me into the playoffs. I think I threw like maybe an inning or 2 innings or 3 innings, something like that, against Lancaster like a week prior to the first playoff game. And I mean, all through that next week, I threw some bullpens and I felt good. But you go out there and you're going out there giving 130% or whatnot, and some of the shoulder pain came back, and I tried to figure out ways to throw without any pain, what pitches wouldn't cause this much pain and that kind of stuff. And I think I got through it, and I think we had a chance to win that game, and it just came down to who made the least amount of mistakes. And I think I think I gave up 4 or 5 runs in 4 innings or 5 innings or something like that. I don't really remember. I try to delete that. As much as a great moment that was, I didn't have the outcome that I wanted. I try to put that in the trash can. But I mean, it was yeah. I mean, I feel bad because I mean, if we had somebody out there throwing that first game, maybe it would have been a different outcome. But at the end of the day, you can't look back, and what happened, and I'm grateful for the opportunity that Brett gave me to start in that first game, and that's something that even though it wasn't the best outcome, I will cherish forever.
So after that season, the shoulder is feeling a little bit better. You get to go to the Jalisco, I guess it is.
Molesky, yeah.
Yes. What was that experience like? Charros de Jalisco. What was that like?
Oh my, I mean, right there, that was my major leagues right there. For me, honestly, the travel, flying. A little interesting story though. Honestly, God, I got down there, and on my way there, I flew from State College, Pennsylvania, to I want to say Chicago to Houston, and Houston to Guadalajara.
Oof.
And from Houston to Guadalajara, my phone died on the plane. I'm like, they're handing out these little cards that you got to fill out that are in Spanish. I don't know a lick of Spanish. I mean, hola, and the basics of Spanish. And I mean,
yes.
It was funny because Kubiak and Corey Reardon and all the guys, and, a little bit of Andy Chavez was trying to teach me Spanish because they knew I was going to Mexico. And I mean, they're doing their best, but I couldn't get any of it. I couldn't comprehend or remember any of it. And so my phone dies on the way down. I get to the airport, off the plane, and my luggage is gone. I have my baseball bag, that only thing that came out. So the essential stuff that I really need, I had it, but my other bag it was gone. And I was the last flight in to Guadalajara. No phone, no way to communicate with the people working at the airport. So the luggage is gone. I try to tell a lady that, hey, I don't have my luggage. I'm speaking English. She has no idea what I'm saying. And it was a mess. I ended up finding my way out. I got my luggage a couple of days later, but I was ready to turn around. Like, I don't know if I can do this. And but I'm so glad I did. And I had 2 wins there and some success. And I had some rehab in the shoulder. Kind of was a little bit better in the beginning, but I ended up getting a cortisone shot before going down. And as soon as that started wearing off, the pain started coming back, and that's when you kind of saw me decline out in Mexico. But I know. I mean, it was that was my major leagues. Traveling on planes everywhere, and just the huge stadiums. It felt like it was big league treatment. So that also led to being easier to walk away from the game.
Yeah. I guess we're still kind of working backwards. So end up in Somerset to start out the 2018 season. You had a very successful run in the Frontier League before that, and we'll get to that. But how did things kind of come about? You ended up signing in Somerset.
So I had those 2 great years in the Frontier League. I ended up aging out of the Frontier League. So I ended up talking to, I guess you can call him, my mentor, from college, who ended up getting me to sign my first pro contract. I contacted him. He's like, I was already, to be honest with you, I thought I wasn't going to have any opportunities. I thought I should, but I didn't hear anything for, a few months. And I contacted my mentor, Dustin Pease, who kind of been through the ranks of the independent world, and he got signed out of independent baseball.
Absolutely,
and
yeah, Location Nation, absolutely.
Yeah, yep. And he was my pitching coach in college for a year, my last year of college. So he's the one that really got the ball rolling for me and my foot in the door. But I ended up contacting him and saying, hey, I just had 2 of the best seasons of my life, definitely the best of my career. Is there anything out there for me right now? Is there anywhere I can go? Do you know anybody? And I ended up talking to him a little bit at the end of my last year of the Frontier League, right after the season ended, seeing if there's anywhere, American Association, Atlantic League for playoffs, they needed anybody. And that's when I first talked to John Hutton. And I think he's the one who ended up doing the contacting, but, nothing ended up coming from that. And Dustin Pease contacted me, 3 months after the season, and he said, hey, you still trying to play? And I was like, absolutely. I was like, if I have the opportunity to play, then I want to play because, especially if I'm moving forward. I don't want to move backwards. If I'm moving forward, 100%, I want to play. And he said, John Hutton again for the Somerset Patriots. And I said, if I can play for them, I've heard nothing but great things about the organization. It's the team you want to play for. It's world-class treatment, everything like that. I said, if I can play for them, I said, I'll sign now for whatever. I didn't really care. It was never, the money to me was never really, I wasn't signing for the money. I was just signing for the experience and, a chance to move up and, try to get that affiliated spot. But, so yeah, that's how it kind of, it was just luck of the draw, I kind of guess. Good timing with when we contacted John, and, I didn't have anything, besides leading the Frontier League 2 years in a row in strikeouts. I was never an all-star. I was, no affiliate experience or anything like that. So to have the opportunity that he gave me, I knew I had to go in there and and work hard to try to get a spot on the team, no matter if it was a starter or long relief. But it all worked out in the end. So
Yeah,
yeah.
you come there, and like you said, Frontier League numbers were excellent. Led in strikeouts 2 years in a row. And Somerset, on paper at least, coming into 18, you're probably a guy who has to, pitch his way onto the team. I guess is that humbling? Does that change your mindset at all? I guess what was kind of the approach for those 10 days in spring training where you really only have that short amount of time to show what you can really do?
Oh, I mean, that was it was definitely eye opening because it is different than the Frontier League. I mean, I walked into that clubhouse the first day, and I got 4 guys who were going out for the starting rotation. Who, 3 of them or something. I think Brett Oberholzer, and a couple other guys who have Major League Baseball experience. And I was like, man, am I really going up against these guys right now for a fighting spot in this rotation? And it is humbling. It's eye opening, and I think that that inner bulldog, underdog type chip on my shoulder kind of made its way into me, and I knew I had to fight. I was fighting every day for a spot. I mean, because the talent we had on that team and the guys we had on the team was unreal. Especially in my eyes. I mean, I knew Rick Teasley, David Kubiak. David Kubiak came in later that year, but I knew it was going to be tough. But I was going to do anything I could, and I told John, I said, hey, any way I can help this team, I'm willing to help. If it's bullpen, long relief, whatever it may be. I just want to be a part of the organization and part of the family, and I want to be, I want to win a championship. I came there to win a championship. I didn't have the opportunity in the Frontier League to do that. So, anyway, any chance that we had to do that, I mean, if I had to be in long relief, I told him long relief it is. I'll fight my way into the rotation somehow. And I kind of, the whole year, I just kind of, those 10 days, just had that chip on my shoulder, and I think I turned a couple of heads, and, who's this guy? I always come back to that line, like, who's this guy? Everyone's, in the Frontier League, when I was in the American Association for 4 days, they all did, who's this guy that's kind of shoving right now and, throwing 88, So, it was eye-opening for sure.
Yeah. I don't think you made a start that year until early June, and even then you kind of were still kind of that long relief role, kind of heading into the second half of the year. Biding your time like that, because obviously you want to be starting. You'll do whatever it takes to help the team, but you want to be starting. When you're biding your time like that, is that frustrating? Is it hard to stay positive during that time? I guess what is that period of time like where you're just kind of waiting for that opportunity that basically the one you signed on for?
Yeah, at first it wasn't frustrating because I was having success in the long relief role. Brett and John both told me, this is your role right now. And I had success in that role, and I was helping the team win in that role. And I didn't think it started to, frustrate me a little bit until after I had my first start. I think it was against the Road Warriors.
Yes, June 3rd, 2018.
Yeah, yes, and I went 6 innings, 9 strikeouts. Again, that was against a team who, had a lot of challenges heading into the season and stuff like that. But after that start, I was kind of frustrated because I went back to the long relief role.
Yes.
And then, I thought that I was, after that game, I'd been in the starting rotation to start, be able to have that routine. But my time didn't come until a bit later, and I'm all right with that because I had the best season of my career that year. That was hands down the best season of my career in my eyes. So, and number wise, I think too. So, it played out. It was frustrating, yeah. Grateful for the opportunity, absolutely. So I can't really be too upset about it or frustrated because I did have the best year of my career.
Yeah, you mentioned that very, very brief stint with Wichita. I guess how did that all kind of come together, and what got you over to Gateway eventually?
So so I tried, my tail off trying to get a spot after my senior year. I spent 5 years in college with, Tommy John surgery and stuff like that. Kind of got me off, I was on the radar for, to get drafted, and then the surgery happened my junior year, which was the worst timing to get surgery. I feel like just, being able to get drafted that junior year and delaying everything, the process, and being older and all that kind of stuff. So I was digging and crawling, and Dustin Pease, like I said, he really stuck his name on the line and his neck on the line for me to get my foot in the door. And we tried that entire summer trying to find a spot for me to play to continue my career, and nothing came from it. I ended up pitching in a men's league. Down here in around Harrisburg, and I'll travel, from Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and I travel, an hour and a half to play in these games because they're just a little bit more competitive, than what I had around my area.
Sure.
And so I did that entire summer, and I told him that, I was staying in shape, baseball ready, shoulder, everything feels good, arm, elbow, whatnot. I'm getting stronger, stuff's getting better. And that following summer, or the following Christmas, January time of year comes around, and he said, "You still trying to play?" I feel like I had that answer, that question come to me like at least every year. "You still trying to play? You still playing?" And I said, "Absolutely." I said, "What can you do for me? Like, do you have any contacts? Get my foot in the door." And the team he actually played for, I think, was the Wichita Wingnuts of the American Association. So we contacted his coach that was still the manager of the team at the time, and his name was, I think it was Kevin Hooper. And he, one of the best coaches I've had. I was only there for 2 weeks, but I finally got to sign for them, packed up, drove out to Wichita in early April, and I had a great spring training. I was going up against guys starting rotation that I think 4 of their starting pitchers came back from the championship season they had in 2014. Or was it 2014 or 2000? I can't even remember anymore. But so I knew it was gonna be tough right there and then. I was, very eye-opening experience playing. I thought I was gonna be in Frontier League where, a little bit easier to compete for, first year pro guy. And I came out, had 2 outings for the Wichita Wingnuts in spring training games, and I think my second outing I went 9 up, 9 down. And I think that's when I really started to turn heads and, oh, wow, this kid, not overpowering, doesn't have any experience, but, he might be able to pitch for us and compete and, win us some games. It came down to it where they had like a long relief position only open, and they gave it to another guy who was in the bullpen, who was more of a bullpen guy. And he's out of the 6 guys I think that we ended up releasing, I was the only guy that ended up getting traded. And he's like, you need a resume. You need somewhere where you can, have some time to, I guess, I don't know what the word I'm looking for right now, but
trying to just build yourself up and kind of get more experience.
Exactly, just to build that resume, then maybe you'll come back here and pitch for us later in the year, or year down the road or whatnot.
Sure.
And that's when they traded me to Gateway, and spent the next 3 years.
Yeah, I'm sure that sucked at the time, but when you look back on it, do you think maybe that was the best thing for you to get that experience at sort of a lower indie level and kind of get that learning experience at the pro level?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was grateful for anything, honestly, because I just wanted to get my foot in the door, and I needed to build that resume. I remember, I went to so many different types of tryouts after my college season, and I ended up going to tryout, I don't even remember where it was, I don't know if it was for the Newark Bears or Newark or something like that. I ended up trying, or Bridgeport or something. And, guys, everyone said, you need a resume. You need a resume. You need a resume. You need to go here and do this and that. And I was like, well, I'm trying. That's what I'm doing, but I couldn't get my foot in the door.
Yeah. So
I'm grateful for that 2-week stint in Wichita and the American Association, because it did lead me to get my foot in the door and build that resume, and, ended up, the rest is history. But, yeah.
Yeah, statistically, that first year with Gateway probably wasn't what you wanted. So what changed for those final 2 years where, numbers-wise, you're just kicking ass?
No, I remember one of my first games, my first starts in the Frontier League was actually against Alfredo Rodriguez and Joliet Slammers.
Okay.
At their park, and it was really, he rags on me till this day. It was, he's like, I knew you had it, that first game I faced you, because you actually came in and you challenged guys. You weren't overpowering, but you challenged us. I remember him. He says that as he hits a triple off the center field wall off me at Joliet. And I'm like, yeah, you would say that, because I threw you a fastball right down the middle. But it was just the Frontier League. It was just the stadiums, everything. It was the turf mounds. It was just pro baseball, getting used to it's a different atmosphere. It's a different strike zone. It's a different, you're playing against, guys that I didn't face in college. I mean, maybe a handful of times when we got to play against some big schools like Mississippi State and stuff like that, in Maryland and whatnot. And so it was just, I showed some signs of progress that they knew they had faith in me. And I honestly, God, I thought I was going to get cut after I wasn't getting invited back for my second year. I mean, I led the league. I make a joke of it now. I led the league in giving up home runs that year. I think I tied the guy who hit the most home runs in the league.
Oh boy!
And I was like, "There's no way." I mean, looking at that stat, there's no way they're going to invite me back. But I did. I got invited back, and I made the most of the opportunity that they gave me moving forward. And I guess I showed some signs of that this guy can help us out and win some games.
Yeah, is the improvement, is that knowing the league after having been in it for a year? Is it just having more confidence in your stuff? What is that?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I didn't not have confidence in myself that first year. It's just, trying to get accustomed to, what I need to do is learn as much as possible through, my pitching coach, Randy Martz at the time, and other guys on the team. And we had a great group of guys on the team. And I was just taking everything in. I was learning as much as possible. Still trying to develop new pitches. I think that first year is when I actually started to try to develop the slider, and I felt like that could have been a huge strikeout pitch for me. And it showed the next 2 years. I mean, the slider was that's my strikeout pitch, and that got me to lead the league 2 years in a row in strikeouts, tie a franchise record. I think it was ended up the third year I tied Scott Peterson's most strikeouts in the franchise for Gateway, which I mean, that was something that I was again, a little award that helped me walking away from the game that much easier. But I mean, yeah, I was just taking everything in as I could, and I did that everywhere I went. That first year in Somerset, I was around such a great group of guys, and Kubiak, Mike Antonini, Corey Reardon. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah.
Scott Kelly, just even position players. I was just taking everything in that I could learn. And, just asking them, what are you looking at the plate for? I mean, what are you expecting? And I think that after that first year, I think they, my managers saw that I was trying to learn as much as possible and say, this kid is, he's really trying. I think there's, going to be, some future success from this kid, and he's going to help us win. So.
Yeah, that felt like a smaller ballpark, too. I got a chance to go there last year, especially to right field, if I remember right. It just felt like the dimensions were a little bit smaller than what I would be used to in the Atlantic League. I mean, is that right? And did you have to change the way you pitched it all in kind of parks that maybe had some different dimensions?
I'll tell you what, that I have a love-hate really. I think everyone who plays for Gateway, who pitches for Gateway, has a love-hate relationship for that park, because it is, you're right, it's a sandbox. There's no other way to put it other than you're playing in a sandbox. I mean, I think it's like 298 down the right field line with a 2 foot wall.
Yes.
Even left field is like 300 down the line, but you got like a 15-foot fence. But I mean, the wind's always. I mean, I remember Kubiak saying about being in the Midwest. The wind's always blowing out, no matter where you are. So I mean, the Frontier League, it teaches. I mean, I learned how to pitch. That first year, I mean, I learned how to pitch in college, pitching at a small park at Mount St. Mary's. But, I mean, going there and dealing with the wind, and even though kind of getting more short of a field, I learned how to pitch. Like, keep the ball down. And, after that first year, it showed that I was leaving, 1-2, 2-2 pitchers up in the zone, and they're, taking advantage of that. And that second and third year in the Frontier League really taught me, hey, bury the slider, bury the curveball, get ahead, stay ahead, and then bury. And, I think it's the place where hitters try to learn how to, gain an approach at the plate too. So, I mean, I was taking advantage of, of young hitters and young professional hitters as well, trying to learn how to have an approach at the plate. And that second year, I really, figured it out, and I just ran with it.
Yeah. So we've talked about the college experience a lot, going to Mount St. Mary's. You're a PA guy, Montoursville, PA. That's more. I guess, would you call that Central PA? Is that fair? Is that East Central?
Yeah. Central PA is good.
Okay. So how do you end up in Maryland from a kid who went to high school in PA?
So I ended up getting to Mount St. Mary's, I ended up going to a showcase, and I played in a bunch of showcases down in Maryland. I don't know why we always went to Maryland for showcases and whatnot, but anyway, we did. And I wanted to play at Penn State or, somewhere, a big school in Pennsylvania, so my family could stay close and watch me. That was important to me to always be able to have my family there to support.
Sure.
And I mean, no matter where I ended up, I knew they would be there to support me, but it meant a lot to me that they would be able to come and watch me and all that kind of stuff. But, so I fell in love I went to a camp at Maryland, and it came down to me and another kid that they're going to end up offering a scholarship to. And I ended up going to the camp, hitting a home run off the kid that they were also recruiting as a pitcher again, and hit a home run off him. I pitched well, and anyway, he's a lefty. They gave him the scholarship. But at the end of the day, when it came down to the signing period, Maryland's coaching staff and another offer, I was getting offered to play at Pitt. I went there for an official visit, loved it. And I have a twin sister who was also looking to go to Pitt, and she ended up going to Duquesne, so it would be in the same city, which would have been awesome. Yeah. So it's like, Maryland's off the table. I was about ready to sign with, the University of Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden, their coaching staff, like a week before the signing period, gets fired. So I had, my first two places that I really wanted to go were off the table, and I wanted to play Division I baseball. My dad wanted me to go play JUCO for a year and then transfer, but I was the stubborn kid that I was. I ended up the last Division I offer I had on the table at the time was Mount St. Mary's University, and going in there, I knew I was going to be able to go in as a freshman and compete for a starting position, in the starting rotation in my freshman year. And that's one of the things they told me. And Eric Smith, the one who recruited me there, he knew I could. So I was, I signed early, and I was, the rest is history from there on out. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess academic-wise, was there some appeal there as well? Because you majored in sport management there. I didn't know you had your master's until I started doing the research for this as well. So very belated congratulations on that. But how important was the academic aspect of going there as well?
I'll tell you right now, I'll be honest with you, I had no business in the academic department of that school. I mean, it was tough. It was really hard all I wanted to do was play baseball. I had no interest in school whatsoever. I just wanted to play baseball. I wanted to play professional baseball from day one I stepped on that campus. And I learned real quick, in order for me to play baseball, I had to, do the work in school to be on the field. Yep. And I took a hit that first semester, and I sat in my coach's office, and he said, "Hey, you have, this is where you can be if you, do this." And I took it pretty serious from that point on, and, I realized that, hey, if baseball doesn't, I don't make it to the big leagues or whatever, the kid dream that I had, then, this is going to help me in the future. And I think everything happens for a reason. And I ended up getting Tommy John surgery. I'm able to get my master's degree. And, I'm very thankful for that. And it's funny how things work out.
Yeah. Now, if I did my research correctly, you interned in their athletic department as well for a time. Is that right?
Yes, that was the one internship that I needed an internship to finish my. And this, as an athlete at a college, like you try to go play baseball over summer, so it's tough to get any type of internships anywhere. So unless you're going to take a summer off from playing baseball. So the one I was able to intern with their athletic department, which was kind of cool. Just like all the kind of behind the scenes type stuff that that goes into sports at a college or university. And I did a little bit of the NCAA, due diligence, signing, making sure all the paperwork and little stuff is filled out correctly and whatnot. Stuff, yeah. All the compliance, yeah. And it was fun, and I got to learn a lot through that, and it also helped me out through my major, which is sports management. So, it was really cool, and it was fun because I was around all the people that I spent every day with. So.
Yeah, you mentioned the Tommy John your junior year. Obviously, like you said, it's a sucky time to go down and get hurt. Prior to that, or even after that, was there some draft attention on you? Were scouts coming out to see you? I guess, what was that whole process like?
I mean, I remember my junior, right before I got hurt, my sophomore year. We always had in the fall. We always had a scout day, and they were coming to check out a couple other guys on the team. Brady Feigl, who's
you went on the Pro Bowl, yeah.
Yep, and he was one of my teammates, and they always come to check him out. He's a lefty throwing low 90s with a huge hook, and I was that freshman, sophomore, and I think I just started turning some eyes, and they would send him letters, and they would bring him into the coach's office, and then all of a sudden, there I am behind him coming into the coach's office. So I did. I had some opportunities early on my sophomore year, and even going into my junior year, and it just I was down in, I think I was playing against University of St. Louis when I tore my UCL, and I knew as soon as it happened that that I tore it, and I just kind of like, oh man, here we go. Like there goes getting the possibility of getting drafted or this and that, and it was 11-month process, 12-month process getting back. And I definitely, once we had a scout day again my senior year, and people knew who I was, and I was a senior on the team at that point, so they were constantly coming around, and a few guys here at this game and that game. But I don't think I ended up getting stronger from the surgery until 3 years afterwards. My first year of Pro Bowl, I started throwing harder, getting back up to low 90s, high 80s. My senior year of college, I think I sat like 87 to 89, but I was just struggling a little bit consistency wise.
Sure.
So I think that kind of made him a little nervous and whatnot. So I figured if I go play independent ball and prove to them that, I have what it takes, then I can get that, affiliated spot. But unfortunately, it just never happened and never went my way. But I had some other great things happen.
Yeah, so like you said, you ultimately, unfortunately, didn't get that opportunity that I think a lot of people feel like you deserved, and you didn't get drafted. How much was that just a chip on your shoulder during your career to kind of just, like you said, just go out there and prove people wrong?
Absolutely. No, I knew in me, the competitiveness in me and the confidence I had in myself, I knew I belonged on any team, any affiliated team. And I just carried that. I carried that chip on my shoulder, everywhere I went. And, I think to have success, you need it. No matter what you're doing, I think you need to have that type of chip or that confidence in yourself, that chip on your shoulder. No matter what you're doing. And, I've been able to overcome fear and failure. And I think I did a little bit of everything of all that throughout my career.
I think the last baseball question I would have for you is indie ball is a funky place. We saw at the end of 18, Bobby Blevins pretty much comes off the couch to pitch Game 5 for you guys.
Yeah.
I know you said that you're done, but is there any chance that maybe sometime down the road you would get that itch and maybe pick up a ball again and consider coming back?
I think the only way I consider coming back is if it's probably a Bobby Blevins situation. That's awesome. That's for him. That must be crazy to just be able to come off the couch and be able to play. But I'm gonna stay in shape always. I have to or else I'll probably go crazy. I'm gonna still probably play baseball in the men's. I'm in Harrisburg where I played in that men's league after my last college season. And so I'm probably playing the men's league, and maybe a year of not pitching and gives the shoulder some rest. Maybe I'll end up throwing 88 again. I don't know, but no, I'm going to continue to play and pitch and do and whatnot. Stay. If ever a situation where York or Somerset or Lancaster ever needs somebody and I know I'm in the area, then cool. I might give it a game or two if they need someone that desperately.
Yes. And I think the last question I would have for you overall is just getting back to this, basically where we started with the Navy thing, I guess. What is kind of the end game for you in doing this? What's kind of the goal in kind of climbing up the ladder over with the Navy?
No, I'm in a program now where it's kind of like a 2-year program where I'll end up graduating from this and being a contract specialist. So just continue to climb up the ladder as far as I can, I guess. I plan to be working for the government in the Navy or for the next 30 years. If an opportunity comes up, other than that, then we'll have to maybe look at it. But I plan to, this is going to be my career now. It's a team I joined, and I'm going to be faithful to them. And whatever happens, and just continue the grind.
Gotcha, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time for me. This was a lengthy one, but I appreciate you always taking time for me. You've been great to cover and get to know over these past 2 years, and I wish you the absolute best with the Navy and with any perhaps spot starts that you may make going forward down the road too, my friend. So thank you for everything, man.
I appreciate it, Mike.
All right, guys, thank you so much for checking out the 5th episode of the Untitled Mike Ashmore podcast. A great chat with Vince Molesky, who's going on to do great things after his baseball career is over, at least sort of over. It sounds like he might come back, you never know. But doing some great work with the Navy right now. And again, thank you guys so much for checking that out. Looking forward to bringing you guys the next one. We're going to have Greg Golson on as our next guest. So many places that we can go in that type of interview with a guy who's had some big league moments and some good success there. So we're going to talk to him coming up, and excited to keep doing this for you guys. This has been a lot of fun for me to kind of catch up with some guys and kind of keep myself sane during some challenging, unique, difficult times that we're all trying to go through and get through together. So in the meantime, stay safe, stay inside, and wash your damn hands. This is Mike Ashmore for the Untitled Mike Ashmore podcast. Thank you guys so much for checking it out.